Thank you. Please. Thank you. Thank you. Please. Wow, great reception, great room. Thank you. Thank you. First, thanks to Al Cardenas for that very warm and generous introduction, and thanks to this extraordinary crowd at CPAC. We've got a great group here this year. It's been a great conference so far, and for that, I suppose we should also acknowledge President Obama. He is the conservative movement's top recruiter. It turns out he really is a good community organizer. I just don't think this is the community he planned on organizing, but he did. You know, today we really are poised for victory in November. The pundits and the pollsters are saying that we can win the election, but we have to tell the nation why we should win the election. It's up to us to prove that we're really ready to step forward and lead this country. And this election is not just about getting more votes. Defeating Barack Obama is only one step towards our ultimate goal of saving America. Of course we can defeat Barack Obama. That's the easy part. Believe me, November 6th will be the easiest day our next president is going to face. This country we love is in jeopardy. And it's more than just economic statistics that we read that tell us that. It's the pain that so many of us feel in our hearts. For 3 years, we've suffered through the failures not only of a weak leader, but of a bankrupt ideology. I'm convinced that if we do our job, if we lead with conviction and integrity, that history will record the Obama presidency as the last gasp of liberalism's great failure, at a turning point for the conservative era to come. But it's not enough for us just to show how they failed. We also have to prove how we will and deserve to lead. And so I'm here to ask you today to stand with me shoulder and shoulder as we go forward to fight for America. Now, as we step forward together, now I think is a time to reaffirm what it means to be conservative and why this must be our greatest hour as conservatives. America is like no other country in the history of the earth. The very heart of American conservatism is the conviction that the principles embodied in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence are uniquely powerful, foundational, and defining. Some see the hand of providence in the crafting of these principles. Others are more likely to credit the brilliance of the founders themselves. I think a lot of us, like me, see both at play. But conservatives all agree that departing from these founding principles would represent a departure from the greatness of America, from our mission, from our freedom, from our prosperity, from our purpose. I know that this president will never get it. But we conservatives aren't just proud to cling to our guns and to our religion. We are also proud to cling to our Constitution. The wisdom of our founding documents is that they see the nation's prosperity not as a product of government, but as the product of individual citizens, each pursuing happiness. The key to the success of the American experiment is this: America doesn't just exist for the people, it has been made exceptional by the people. It's this brilliance, a free people pursuing their own dreams, achieving success in their own ways. That's what's propelled America and has made us to be the most prosperous nation and most powerful nation in the history of the earth. Now, there are a lot of politicians on both sides of the aisle that have forgotten that, if they ever really understood it at all. They've fallen under the spell of Washington. Politicians, they're routinely elected by promising that they're going to change Washington. But when they came here, they became creatures of Washington. They begin to see government as the answer to every challenge and the solution for every problem. At every turn, they try to substitute the heavy hand of government for free citizens and free enterprises operating in a free manner. They think government knows better and can do better than a free people exercising their free will. And this president is the worst offender. Barack Obama is the poster child for the arrogance of government. And so, as I say across this country, this election really is about a battle for the soul of America. And it's going to come down to a choice between whether we want a nation to be of and by Washington or a nation of and by a free people. And we conservatives believe in freedom and free people and free enterprises. Now, as conservatives, we're united by a set of core convictions. Not everyone has taken the same path to get here. There are college students at this conference who are reading Burke and my guess is some of you got here by reading Burke and Hayek. When I was your age, you could have told me that they were infielders for the Detroit Tigers. Some of you work in think tanks, or you follow the writings of some of the prominent conservative writers currently and in the past. Some of you have probably worked in government, or you're labored on the front lines of conservative causes. I salute all of you in achieving your vision of conservatism. My path to conservatism came from my family, from my faith, and from my life's work. I was raised in a home that was shaped by and rooted in conservative values. My mother's father, my grandfather, came to America from England. As a teenager, he was alone in this new country, but he risked it all for the chance at religious liberty and for economic opportunity. You probably also heard about my dad and how proud I am of him. He was born to American parents who were living in Mexico. And then when he was 5, they moved back to the U.S. His dad was a contractor, but he went bust more than once. My dad grew up poor, never had the chance to finish his college degree. But he believed in a country where the circumstances of one's birth were not a barrier to life's achievement. And so with hard work, he became the head of a car company. And then he became governor of the great state of Michigan. The values that allowed my parents to achieve their dreams are the same values they instilled in my siblings and me. Those aren't values I just talk about. They're values that I live every day. My 42-year marriage to my wife, Ann. The life we've built with our 5 sons. The faith that's part of our life. These conservative constants have shaped my life. And then there's business. In business, if you're not fiscally conservative, you're bankrupt. I spent 25 years balancing budgets, eliminating waste, and by the way, keeping as far away from government as humanly possible. I did some of the very things conservatism is designed for. I started new businesses and turned around broken ones. And I'm not ashamed to say that I was successful in doing it. My family, my faith, my businesses. I know conservatism because I have lived conservatism. Now, as governor of Massachusetts, I had the unique experience of defending conservative principles in the most liberal state in the nation. There are 3 people from Massachusetts here. I appreciate that. When I took office, I was facing a $3 billion budget deficit, and the economy was in a tailspin. And even with a legislature that was 85% Democrat, we cut taxes 19 times and balanced the budget all 4 years. I cast over 800 vetoes. And I cut entire programs. I erased a $3 billion budget shortfall and left office by putting in place over $2 billion in a rainy day fund. And by the way, if there was a program or an agency or a department that needed cutting or elimination, we did it. In fact, one of the commentators in Boston, one of our TV commentators, once said that I didn't just go after the sacred cows. He said, Mitt Romney went after the whole herd. By the way, that skill learned in the private sector and practiced for 4 years in Massachusetts, where, by the way, I served in government, but I didn't inhale. I'm still a business guy. That experience of slimming down, cutting, eliminating, I want to take that to Washington. I want to get my hands on Washington, D.C. Now, you may recall as well that during my term in office, our conservative values also came under attack. Less than a year after I took office, the state's Supreme Court inexplicably found a right to same-sex marriage in the Constitution written by John Adams. I presume he'd be surprised. I fought to have a stay on that decision, then pushed for a marriage amendment to our Constitution. We lost by only 1 vote in the legislature. And I successfully prohibited out-of-state couples from coming to our state to get married and then going home. On my watch, we fought hard and prevented Massachusetts from becoming the Las Vegas of gay marriage. When I am president, I will defend the Defense of Marriage Act, and I will fight for an amendment to our Constitution that defines marriage as a relationship between a man and a woman. During my term in office, I also stood up to those who wanted to call into question the very definition of life. I vetoed a bill that would have opened the door to cloning and to embryo farming. I vetoed a bill that would have allowed young girls to obtain access to abortion-inducing drugs.